And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing the hot new fresh patch straight off the BSG press, banning trees. It's over. Rats out. Followed by some looting stuff that Giga has prepared. Don't know. I'm sorry. Also, I'm trying to make it through this. Also, new Tarkov killers? Question mark. Uh-oh. Watch out. Then we're going to talk about Elitism, Tarkov, Aimpunch, and why it's cringe. And finally, Tarkov SP mods are getting a little crazy. I did it.
I
made it through.
I was literally like, literally just being told by everybody about like echoing from your side, which like I can't hear. I actually should have tested that 2 seconds ago, but I forgot. But I think I fixed it. So sorry about the little echo on my side at the beginning. But yes, lots of topics today, various random bits and pieces. It's been relatively quiet in Tarkov world, except for this kind of update, I suppose. But there's a few things to talk about. So, but yeah, this week's been good. We finally hit 42, which is nice. Max level. Finally,
you beat the game.
Well, beat the game. Well, yeah, it depends what you mean.
You beat the easy mode of the game.
Yeah, you got to the end. Now it's like, oh, what do you want to do now? Like, do you want to do? Like I said before in one of the other casts, like, do you want to do Shooterborn? Do you want to go for level 45? Do you want to do Lightkeeper? Do you want to get Kappa? You know, I'm like still pushing along towards Kappa, which is interesting. But I'm sort of doing some things that I don't usually. I change up stuff a little bit each time I play on each wipe, which is just good for me. And you know, I'm just like not a keys guy, so I bought all the Concordia keys for streets. I've been like going there to the different rooms just to like check them out. It was like partly because of some other stuff with like looting that I'll talk about in a bit. But I had like my craziest raid. I think it's like on par with the craziest raid that I've had. It's like the joint first craziest raid ever. And I managed to kill. We had, like, let's put it this way, right? We had to do peacekeeping mission, and I managed to kill no scavs whatsoever and 5 players, which was pretty interesting.
That's a lot.
And I killed a 3-man in Concordia in 9 seconds with in a corridor in like a face-to-face battle with my drum magged M4. Fully finished that, and then swapped over to the drum magged RD that I took off the first guy and emptied that as well and killed all 3 of them. So it was like full on, just like guns blazing, just like absolute carnage. But it was just, it was just mad. It was just mad. It's like full on, like, spent 20 minutes doing Tetris afterwards. Like, can I get the Redoute on as well as carry the Goons rig out at the same time, kind of thing? Because the first guy was really geared, and one of the guys in the team of 3 was really geared, and the other 2 were sort of like, you know, semi. And then we just had to like mule our way out. And like the biggest surprise was that after all of this, right, it was like getting towards quite the end of the raid. After all of this, the vehicle exfil was open.
Wow.
I was shocked, honestly, because we had to go to Damaged House or Sewer River, and we were like, well, we could just like skirt around the back of Concordia now. Like, now you can go out the back into the back street and pass. Right. Like, you don't need to go by Caban or any of that. You can just like go right out the back all the way around, and then skirt around the edge of the map now towards the vehicle X, right? And then chat was like, oh, you may as well check that on the way, and you may as well check the courtyard one, because that's like further down next to the, you know, FCK, you know, the KFC rip-off shop, just further down on the right before you get to the cinema. So I was like, okay, we'll do that. And I went to the car. It was there. It was like 40 minutes into the raid. I was like, what? That's like, I don't think that's ever happened in the history of streets for me. Like, people take that exfil all the time. There's like at least 2 quests that require you to take that exfil. So I think maybe there's 3, because there's like a Lightkeeper one as well, where you have to take that vehicle exfil. Probably not many people are on that, so the other ones are more important. But yeah, it was wild. So we had some good raids on streets. It was decent. It was decent. So yeah, I've been rocketing along up through the levels. Been good. Been good. But we did get a patch, which is partly why I wanted to test streets. So they did do a big install. It was like 4 hours long, and they added the first point on the list of things they added. Like, so many people asking me, like, where's the patch notes? It's like, oh, because this one, I don't even know if they put it on the forum. I'm not sure, but like, they definitely put it on Twitter, and lots of people couldn't find it. And I was just like, oh yeah, the patch notes is just in this tweet randomly. It's like underneath the installation of the technical update. I was just like, okay. But anyway, the first one was an interesting one. An experimental option, Streets of Tarkov lower texture resolution mode, has been added to the graphic settings to reduce RAM consumption on Streets of Tarkov. The setting is recommended for use on PCs with less than 32 gig of RAM. So this intrigued me because the RAM issues have been certainly one of the reasons why Streets is quite bad. Now you can usually just turn down your textures, like it's mostly a textures problem. And last wipe, I fixed it with MIP streaming. MIP streaming, as I've discussed at length, does not really work very well this wipe. It loads in like ridiculous textures of a quality that I did not even know existed in Tarkov, and it does it even on maps like Factory that have absolutely no problems with VRAM or anything like that. So it's not really working. And so this wipe, I've been using medium, actually, which is kind of intriguing. And I tested it and went on and played, and it felt fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't like crazy good or anything, but it wasn't bad. It felt to me, anecdotally, slightly smoother. So the FPS was maybe like 5 higher, maybe, but I wasn't getting it. It wasn't going as low. It wasn't dipping quite as badly in certain circumstances. Now I was confused about what this exactly did, so I actually went to ask, the community manager at BSG, what does it do? Because I was like, everybody's trying to test this thing, and can you give us some pointers in the right direction? Like, this isn't secret source, Tarkov mechanics that you're reading here. Like, it's the graphic setting. Like, can you just tell us what this actually does? And he said, without going into too many details, with the current setting being turned on, it applies the preset of settings that are lower than your current. So in general, if you have high settings, it will apply medium for Streets, but keep high for the rest, which is fair enough. It doesn't mean only textures, but also a mixture of some other settings. As an outcome, is expected to have less VRAM and RAM usage in general. That's basically what they said. So it doesn't really tell us too much, but it does seem to depend on what your texture setting is right now. I don't know what happens if you put low on and then press this button. Because I have it on medium and I press this button. So it felt very similar to having it on low. Well, I guess it probably is quite similar to having it on low. So if you put it on low and then press the button, does it go to some kind of like weird textures? I'm not really sure. But it felt fine. There didn't seem to be any downside to using it particularly. And it's quite nice to be able to specify different settings for different maps, because normally, you'd have to like check. I don't know, actually, if you change the texture quality, do you have to restart?
Yeah, you got to restart your game.
You're right.
I think you can do it in the lobby.
Yeah. So you have to restart even if you're in your, main menu or whatever. So like that's quite nice having that on. What's a bit weird is that, you have to restart for texture quality, but checking the box, you don't have to restart the game. A little suspect.
Yeah, I don't know.
So people were asking me like, do I need to restart after clicking it? And I was like, I did. I don't know whether you need to, but like I did. I think it's probably sensible to do that. But otherwise, I'm not really sure. I think it's okay. It feels good. I mean, it definitely is a bit better for people who are like really struggling for RAM. I mean, mine on medium, that there's way too much for my GPU. It just overflows into usual RAM for me. And I end up on like 26 or 27 gigabytes out of 32 gigs. So I don't know if it necessarily matters that much. It's funny really, because when you're playing on other maps, you can see your VRAM not being completely full.
Yeah.
And then when you play on Streets, it's like there's just so much that it just has to go out to, unless you're playing on low, and then like there's maybe a way to do it. Like with MIP, you maybe were able to do that previously. But I think like, I don't know, I think like some of that was also just like the actual RAM usage of the game. Anyway, like BSG basically said like, oh, if you got less than 32 gig of RAM, you might benefit. But I think like a bigger subset of people benefit than just that. I think it's more broad than that, which is what I was trying to see. But I'm sure Clementine will come up with a video, and some other people have been coming up with some videos. Like the people that I've seen talking about it so far, saying it's reduced their RAM usage by about 3 gig in general. I mean, I think it's fine. Like, it doesn't look too. It looks like you've got low textures on to me when I've got it on medium, which is about consistent with what they said. And some people are like, oh, the game's like looks so terrible. I'm just like, do you really care not being able to read the word Wilston on the outside of the cigarettes when you're looting it? Like, I'm just not sure if I care that much. Like, if some people they care, but it just doesn't bother me too much. I'd rather have the game be more playable, especially when you're trying to scope in and stuff, because it can feel so bad on Streets.
Yeah. I get the low texture thing, because it does when you go like medium to low, it's a pretty big jump in terms of quality loss. So I can kind of understand that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, frames are frames. Frames
I think,
win games.
And that's the thing. I think like frames are frames. There's a limit of that, obviously, but like moving from 40 to 60 to 80, right? That range really does matter quite a lot, right? Going from 40 to 60 is huge, and 50 to 60 is huge. And then after that, it starts mattering a bit less. So yeah, if it brings people through that like sensitive threshold, then it's good.
Yeah, funny you mention Clementine, because he did come out with a video. Let's see if I can fit this in. Boom here, which check it out. It's a quick video talking about his testing and his results. And
oh, is this of this setting? I knew he was going to do it, but I didn't realize he'd put it out already.
Yeah. He kind of came up with similar his theory, or based off of his testing. It seems that it just switches the textures to low on streets, and precisely as you laid out, if you have like 8 gigs on your card, this would be a benefit for you. And he mainly just saw 1% and 0.1% lows are better. So like your stutters, it's a bit smoother for people. But yeah,
okay,
there's kind of like multiple.
Yeah,
there's kind of like multiple. If you got low RAM, under 32, it's probably worth turning on if you can deal with the texture loss. And if you're not, your VRAM, your graphics card memory size is like smaller than the 8, it's also probably worth, because I think you and I have the same card. You have a 3070. Yeah.
We're cursed with the 8 gig of VRAM.
Yeah, it sucks, but what are you gonna? Anyways, don't get me started on Nvidia. Arg.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one aspect of the patch. Most of the other stuff, I would say, is bug fixes. I mean, there's a couple of nice things here. And some not so nice, like remove the ability to display weapons without critical attachments on the weapon stand. Like, come on, man. Really?
So there were a lot of people who were just like, they were like, "Oh, you were never able to do this," and I was just like, oh, "Yes, you were." You could it was the old thing, like if you control click it into the weapon stand, it'll go in without a pistol grip or whatever. If you use your mouse, it says you're not allowed. So they finally patched that, so you can't control click the stuff in there, which is, I mean, it's a stash space thing. They're like, they don't want you to have as much space. Like it just feels kind of like whatever.
I mean, yeah, just I don't know.
Yeah, it's because they were fixing a bug. I think like the intended design was to be full weapons only, so they were. Most people didn't know that you could do it, and it was like only people who mess about with stuff figured out that you can actually do it just by control clicking. But the usual situation, because lots of people just like oh, I hope you're okay with the if with all of these weapons to getting deleted when BSG changes the thing. I'm just like, that's not the way BSG deals with this stuff. Like they've never dealt with it like that. Like when the suppressor combo was bugged, for example, like you just can't put it back together once you disassemble it. And it's exactly the same here. Like I still have loads of like red weapons in my stash. Like they don't get deleted. It's just if I take them out, I can't put them back in. That's it. Yeah. And so they put that through. So it's like now the intended design is in. I mean, it doesn't matter that much, but yeah, some people were just like, come on, let me hang like any weapon up there. Like it doesn't matter, I could put like a lower up there if I want to. Like what's stopping me from just putting that in there? Like it doesn't matter, except for the whole, now you get a ton of stash space. You can efficiently mount all the guns in there in one slot. So that kind of annoyed a couple of people, but doesn't really matter too much. There was one that was like actually really annoying that they have fixed, and I don't know why this broke, but if you had like a multi-part task to do with the traders, and you handed in one item, say you had vitamins or lend-lease or something, like the first one, where you got to hand in like lots of different stuff. If as soon as you handed one thing in, it duplicated all of the task items, or that's the task, like all of the things you had to do. So there's like 2 sets of them. It's just like really weird. You have to like back out and go back in again to like reset it, make it go back normal again. I don't know why that happens. They fixed that with this one, which is good because it was just a pain. And then they also fixed the the bug where somebody uses a car exfil, the car disappears, but you turn up and the car's still like physically present but just invisible, and you can pay for the car extract again. I think people quite liked the fact that you could use the car extract multiple times, but obviously that's not really intended, so that's also fixed. And then the main one, which obviously has caused the most consternation across the community, is fix the ability to jump on trees in all locations, which is a little bit of a statement of hubris, I feel, but
asterisk.
all asterisk, all the ones we know about. And I saw Axel doing some testing on this, like just as soon as it had come out, and he was like walking around with some weapon, shooting at the tree trunks, because you could actually hear when where the tree trunk was, because when you hit it, right, it makes a sound. And they've basically increased the height of the collision so that you can't jump into a lot of the classic ones. But I believe there are still quite a few that you are allowed to jump into. How exactly that happens, I'm not really sure. Like, you would have thought they would just take. I mean, I'm not. There's no point even saying stuff like this. But I was going to say, like, you may as well just take every tree model that they have and just change the collision box. Maybe it doesn't work that way. I don't know. But there does seem to be something you can still get into for whatever unknown reason. And but they're slowly phasing it out. So Stankrat patched out, as lots of people were saying. But it's quite funny. He actually did talk about it. He said, "I've got a spreadsheet of 700 rat locations actually, so we're good. Only a small fraction of trees. You can't hold a good rat down."
Yeah, I love how he's become like an icon within the community. So I don't think I've heard of him until like a couple months ago ish, and Airwing was like in a stream of him. I saw some of his content, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is good content."
Yeah, he's grown really, really quickly actually, and I kept hearing about him. People kept like talking about him in chat. Like, you go down to D2, and they're just like, watch out for Stankrat, or like people started talking about him like referentially like that, and so I went to go and check his stuff out, and I was like, I don't understand like what this is going to be, but basically the guy's just like, he's just a funny guy.
He's like a non-toxic version of Exfil Camper.
Kinda, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting to see the rise of the rat patch, and with 13.5 and like his content and stuff. But people like seeing that stuff. It's entertaining, and he's an entertaining dude. So that kind of it goes hand in hand, and works quite well, which is fun. So still, yeah, I think
fuck you rats though.
So I think that was that. Yeah, I think that was basically everything from the patch. I was just having a look through. There's some other just like technical stuff. Like, fix the bug that causes a decrease in hit registration accuracy. It's like, okay, good, I guess.
Yeah.
Fix the animation of opening the inventory when a player is holding a pistol.
What if they just put that line in there as like a placebo?
They could well do.
What's funny is I don't remember where I was watching something about like CS2 or like Counter-Strike devs or something, and like people would complain about like networking, and then they would say something like they like fix something or whatever, and then they actually didn't, and then people would still complain or something. It was just, I can't remember the exact details, but there's something like that in there. Just hilarious.
You just see there's like a lot of people complain. I still see CS2 stuff coming up on my on my Twitter. There's like lots of people complaining about that and networking, and like the desynchronization between the model and like what you see, like the actual hitboxes and stuff. And there's like one weird one that's come up on social media at the minute, which is this like Michael Jackson peak thing where somebody like they're looking down. Have you seen it? Like someone's like scoping in down the corridor, and the guy like comes around like, and he's like, it's models at like 45 degrees or something weird. And apparently they actually changed their banner on Twitter with the logo be like CS. Yeah, have you got the?
Yeah, this is someone took the CS:GO promotional, or sorry, Counter-Strike 2 promotional material, and like the video, and spliced in all these glitchy ass buggy clips in it. And it's so funny because you got the voice announcing. It's like we've done it. We've introduced lagless gameplay. It's just great.
Yeah, and if you go onto the @Counter-Strike like Twitter, the CS logo now has like the leaning guy.
Oh, that's so
they
funny.
they changed their logo, which is pretty funny. I quite like that. It's like you gotta lean into these things. No pun intended. I'm sure you could probably find it. It literally is just there you go. You see their logo, like the banner.
Oh, I see it. I was looking at the icon. I was like, what? No, I see it. That's hilarious, actually.
It's good. It's good. I played a little bit of CS2 last night, actually.
Oh yeah,
with some mates, and it's one of those games where like it's fine and it's good if everybody's kind of around the same skill level. But we were playing with some guy who had like all the skins has clearly been playing for the last like 20 years, and it was like we got to like round 3 or something. Our team had a grand total of 2 kills, like between us, and we just couldn't even touch this guy. Like he knew all the angles, all the spots. And it's like there's not really much point playing against. Like it's okay playing against people who are better. That's fine because you like learn stuff. But when you play against somebody who's like so clearly like so far above your skill level, it just ends up being a bit. You're just like, what's the point? We ended up like switching over to BattleBit, playing that instead, which was good fun. BattleBit's cool. Cool. Yeah. So I think that was the patch. There wasn't anything else news related, particularly this week, as far as I can remember. So where should we go next then? Do you want to go what topic? Because we've got like a few different places we could go from here.
It don't matter to me.
Because you could talk we should do the elitism in Tarkov thing because you wanted to talk about that last time, then we didn't get around to it.
All right, I'll try my best. For context, I have not slept yet, and it's 6:43 a.m. and I got an appointment in a couple of hours after ScavTalk, so it's gonna be amazing. Anywho, Elitism Tarkov. So this is kind of this came about from watching a couple of videos around Actman, and he's like a YouTuber, and he's covered like he's like a big Dark Souls guy. Apparently, I wasn't really aware. And he's covered a couple videos. There's like a whole debacle with him and another creator getting into it, and then this other creator like trying to like copyright claim him because
this is like the quantum TV thing, right?
It's a rabbit hole if you want to get down into it. I mean, the short end of the stick is quantum TV is a prick and abused the system, and at one point Actman was like really low because YouTube sided with Quantum, and then a bunch of the YouTube figureheads, people like Philip DeFranco, Ethan Klein from H3, like a lot of the big YouTube OGs like gathered around and was like, yo, YouTube, what the fuck? So YouTube reverted it and did the right thing eventually. But anyways, the point of that was I think I was watching an Asmongold React video. I'm on like a huge Asmongold React binge right now. So yeah, I think he was reacting to some video around, Dark Souls. It might have been the Actman video. I don't know, but
yeah.
They were talking about how like in the Dark Souls, there's like this terminology that's used quite often, which is get good, right? And one of the things about this is so like there's like it's all right, so let me talk a little about Dark Souls. Dark Souls is like doesn't have a difficulty setting, right? You just play the game and that's it. Okay. The difficulty slider is like, do you want to use co-op? Do you want to summon NPCs to help you fight the boss? Do you want to like change your build to, beat the boss type of things, do you want to use magic? That's what people would say, which I mean, there's kind of some truth to it. I think like the co-op and the summon NPCs, but whatever. Like people would say the game's not really hard, and like I don't know if I would agree with that. I mean, the game's meant to challenge you, and it's a relatively simple game in that it's like it's just the crux of it is you just got to learn the attack patterns and know when to attack and when to dodge. Essentially, it's really just like a reflexive muscle memory rhythm game, essentially. You know, but yeah, there's just like this really sense of like, you know, oh, you're having a hard time with the game, get good, right? And it's like it's so toxic to a point where you can't even like actually provide any like legit criticism.
Yeah.
Right? And because I think one of the things he was talking about was Asmongold was talking about Liza P, or maybe it was like another thing he was reacting to. I don't even know at this point. But in Liza P, they had this mechanic where you could block, and if you timed the block just right, as soon as the attack would land, you would like take no damage, and it would like do stagger damage to them. And then, anyways, but what was weird is like, which I never really occurred to me when I played it, because you know I talked about Liza P last week. It's like a Dark Souls clone, essentially. Was like you would do the perfect block, but it would like knock you back so far back that then once you ran up back to the boss to attack them, they would already be attacking you, and so you would take damage and your attack wouldn't land. So it felt really bad. And you know, once he laid it out like that, I was like, oh, you know what? Like I do remember that happening, and that makes sense. You know, like he's right. It feels really bad. And it's like clearly like, you know, the intention was for you to get these perfect blocks, because notably on these ones where it knocks you really far back, it's like this, it's called like a feint attack, where essentially the boss, the enemy glows red, and like you either have to land a perfect block or you have to dodge, and the dodging's not very good, and you can't just hold block and you know, defend that way. Like you have to land the perfect block. So you do that, and then you get, like, if you fail, you get punished. If you do that, you kind of still get punished because you get knocked so far back that it's like, well, like you might as well dodge and try to get, like, dodge close to them and try to get an attack again, which doesn't seems counterproductive to the design that they were going for, right? That's like the criticism. And then, you know, people say, oh, skill issue, just get good, right? So all this brought about because there's like, you know, yeah, I mean, the Dark Souls community is just like super toxic for that. And the downside of that is, as I said, the legit criticism gets in the way, and then you have sort of like you're like shunning new people to the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, for me at least, games that I like, I want other people to play. You know, if they don't like it, that's fine.
I can see the parallels with EFT.
Yes, you can see the parallels. And the thing that really caught my, you know, really perked me up was this whole idea of like how it gets in the way of genuine criticism, and I see that a lot. Like notably, probably the person that I've seen it happen the most to is like Veritas, where like he'll have like in my opinion, a genuine criticism about something, and then people will be like, well, that's the game, skill issue, get good, you know. And like, okay, on one hand, all right, to play a little devil's advocate, let's take the audio, for example. All right, it's broken, right? BSG knows it's broken, they're working on fixing it, right? And we can criticize it, it's shit. But at the same time, it's like, if you want to win, you have to like use the broken stuff to your advantage, even though it's a shitty experience. It's like, that's how you do it to win.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't make the criticism invalid. You know what I mean? Like, it's still shit.
Exactly.
But the problem comes up when people, for whatever reason, just say, you know, that's the game. It's not shit. You're shit. It's like, I don't know. So it was just an interesting thing that came up that like really, I was like, oh my god, I can see so many parallels, and I feel like I see it so much from the community, and I don't know what the, I mean, I get it, we're playing a hardcore game that makes us super gamers, we've transcended. But yeah, it was just kind of an interesting thing that came up, and
yeah, the one that makes me think of the most is certainly the rogues. Like, because I've been playing quite a bit of Lighthouse recently, and I've not played that much against the rogues, just because it's that thing of like, oh well, the rogues are easy. You just have to do X, Y, Z, cheese run to abuse all their mechanics and then kill them all, and then there you go. And it's like, I don't want to do that though, because it's just really boring and I hate it and it sucks. Like, I could go and do the thing and get good and do the run. Like, that's not the issue. The issue is that the mechanics like bad. Right? It's exactly that. Like, and you see that a lot with the rogue thing in particular, because people say like the rogue camp's impossible and the AI is impossible. And people are like, no, bro, it's not impossible. You just have to do this lead so you can follow this for YouTube video.
Right.
Exactly that. And like, yeah, there's a ton of people who are saying like that about finding all these various items and things like, oh, you just need to go just go to the rogue camp and like just cheese the rogues. Right. Like, I just don't want to. I actually just don't want to go in there. I just don't care for it as PMC. It just feels bad. I never have a good experience. Even if I like win, it doesn't feel like a good experience. I think that's the thing. Is some people enjoy doing that kind of like rote loop, and how it gets interrupted by other players and stuff. But just I'm not so keen, honestly. I'm not so keen. I had a really hilarious raid as a scav where I just like wandered into the rogue camp. I got shot at by this guy. This guy like literally like stood up, tried to shoot me, really hurt me, and then just got instantly beamed by the rogues off the roof. I was like so broken and so hurt. I was like limped up. I didn't actually realize he died. I like limped up the side of the mountain, and then I was like, oh, I actually shot his corpse. I was like, oh, he's dead already. Oh, that's weird. I went over to him and I was like, oh, he just got heavy MG'd off the roof of like building 2 or something, because he dared so much as show like 6 inches of his forehead trying to kill me, player scav, 365 running in through over the bridge. So I was just like, oh, I could, at least it worked out in my favor. But no, it's definitely true. Like it's a bit of both, as you say. Part of it is, well, I guess it's like, yeah, there's 2 separate things, isn't there? There's like getting good at the game and then criticizing the design. And you could do both, right? You could say the audio is broken and utilize the broken audio to your advantage. Like those two things aren't like, it's not like hypocrisy, because you can't like do anything about it. You know what I mean? It's you if you have to use the system, you have to use the system. Like, obviously, you can just not play the game, but if you want to play the game, you have to use the system. It's like if you can say like crouch walking should be loud for whatever. Yeah, you could say that, but then
yeah, you could say that.
but then be crouch walking through the map. And people are like, oh, but I thought you don't like crouch walking. So it's like, well, it's in the game, so I'm going to do it.
Right.
But I don't think it should be there. I think it's kind of like what we talked about last week, actually, about, here's the set of hurdles, but there's a path just to walk around the outside. And it's like the valid criticism would be that the path shouldn't exist, but everyone's going to use it if you're actually in a race.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. So
that's a good analogy.
Like I used to have, this actually applies to like lots of other stuff. It reminds me of that meme. It's like, I can't think of like exactly how it goes off the top of my head, but it's somebody saying like, society's so unfair, and then the guy pops just like, yet you participate in society here. How intriguing. And it's like it's exactly that thing. Like, if you don't have any choice, you're still allowed to criticize the thing, even if you do the thing. Like, it's not actually hypocritical. Even though back in the day, I actually used to have the converse opinion and changed my mind as time went on. But yeah, that's no, I do think it's definitely a thing, but I don't know whether the Tarkov community's got better or worse at that as time's gone on. I'm not really sure. I feel like it got really bad at one point, and now I feel like maybe it's not as bad. I think a lot of people just care a little bit less these days as well, which is probably healthy.
Yeah,
but I think like after the great rise of Tarkov, right, and like all the huge influx of people, there were a lot of super super try hard sweats at that point, when everybody was still 12, 11, full on like honeymoon, like Tarkov phase, like everyone loving it, whatever. As now, there's a lot more people who just like jaded and stuff, and so I think people care a lot less about and especially people at the top care a lot less about try harding quite as much, and so that sort of filters down a bit in some ways. So I think maybe it's a bit better now than it was, but
well, see, maybe this is just my own biases, but I don't really find it comes from like the try hard community as much as it comes from like the realism community. You know what I mean? It's like you critique, let's say recoil. But I mean, I guess it's not a good example, but what Aimpunch, whatever, weights or inertia. It's like, oh, but that's you try doing that in your life. And it's like, well,
it even happened with this trees change. Actually, people just like, oh, but you could legitimately sit in a tree in real life. So like, this change is like anti-realism. Like BSG, what are you doing? And I was like, I can't believe that. Like this is your serious take on the change.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if that's like a. I don't know. It just feels like an illegitimate, like a whataboutism or something. Like, you know what I mean?
It's something. Something like that. I don't know. It just. Yeah, exactly. Like, well, you couldn't do that in real life. Oh, you try doing this in real life. Try doing da. It's just like, and as people always say, right, the retort to that, it's just like, yeah, you try stitching your own limb on after like 12 seconds and then walking around completely fine. It's a video game, like, shush, quiet. Let people enjoy things. Yeah, indeed. Yes, so you mentioned, unless there's anything else that you have on that topic?
No,
you good? You mentioned the Aimpunch, which is an interesting one. It kind of like it was kind of in vogue. Maybe I think we're going to see some more stuff about it. Actually, I don't know because it's sort of got a bit quiet. Like people were talking about it for a bit, but I think like some of the other finding raid stuff kind of got in the way a little. Just as like a side tangent, actually, I was quite pleased with the reception of the video that I did, the full one. We talked about it and like thrashed a lot of it out here, and then ended up releasing it, and it did super well. And even had like Tiggs did a react video to the video and stuff, which was quite cool. So like that's like worth a watch, at least to like see his opinion. It's one of those things like it's always tricky because like the way that I like slowly like layer up and build stuff up.
Sorry, 83 KVs. It did really well, Giga. What the fuck?
It's done super good. It's done super good. I think it was like the right timing. Plus, like I've spent a lot of time working on it, and I think with the background of doing the last one as well, that really helped because I had like the full background of like finding raid, like built this framework, like thought through like all the pros and cons of like every different part and whatever. It's like it's super nuanced, and you need to bring all these topics together if you want to do something good. So I think people were like keen to see what I had to say about it. It was received really well by people, which is cool. And the Tiggs React is also pretty good. It's like it's because of the way that it's like built up and layered. It's like kind of unfortunate in some ways because like I'll like say something, and then like he'll have his opinion on like whatever it is, but like I'm just about to come on to the bit that he's like, but then people always say this and then da da da, and it's like, oh, I'm just about to say that, dude. Like it's just like really unfortunate the way the React stuff works sometimes, especially with the format of the video. But either which way, like he basically gets to the end and he was just like, actually, I agree with like most of the takes in here, which is like I was like, hey, great. It's like we want something that a lot of people think is good. Like I think it's a combination of like fixing a bit of everything, and like it sort of changed my mind a little bit from the previous video, especially about hatch things. We spoke a lot about like the secure container and whether you can allow things in the secure container, and I just decided in the end, like, because the reason why I wanted to leave the secure container like free was to sort of help out new people and like help promote PvP and stuff. But I just decided that like having one GPU in your secure container, like in some raids, it just doesn't justify enough like PvP centric stuff that you may as well just like lock it to fix hatch things. Like if you need to fix hatch things some way, locking the container is just a better way. I think I just decided that was that. So I kind of changed my mind on that. But most of the other stuff stayed the same. Having like bought from traders as a flag and like all of that kind of thing. I think that's kind of similar. But the stuff that I didn't talk about, like Jesse actually did a video that was sort of tangentially related to mine. And it's different. He talks about audio as well, but he talks about lots more stuff that's broken and about PvP mechanics and things, which is kind of interesting. Like I liked his. There's like in the Venn diagram of like what he's talking about versus what I'm talking about. Like he was sort of explaining the reasons as to why people are ratting, and there's some overlap. Like he's not necessarily giving a full, economic, like, here's the framework of how I would fix the game. He's kind of like giving more of a, explanation as to, like, why the game's like it is and what BSG needs to do, and puts more of the onus on BSG, just like fixing things like the audio so that it actually makes sense and works, and some stuff about, I think, does he talk a bit about cheating? I think maybe he does. But those things are all sort of related.
I think.
But he talks a lot more about those kind of things, which I didn't really talk about in mine, which is about stamina, audio, weight system, like inertia, Aimpunch specifically, which is why I kind of wanted to bring it up, because it's all wrapped into the same thing. But those issues, it's already a big enough topic. It's hard to make a video about everything all at once, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So the Aimpunch thing raised itself like a bit ago now. It's like it's a little bit old, that topic, but I still think we're going to see something about it soon-ish. And we didn't get onto this in the previous one, which is why I'm kind of bringing it up now. And just Trey actually posted on the 30th of October, which is like nearly 2 weeks ago now. Tarkov players, send me your worst clips of Aimpunch and screen blur during fights. And there was just a whole bunch of different clips of people shooting, not being able to see. And as an editor, I'm sure you can attest to this, where it feels bad at the time, and you're like, why does this feel so terrible? But when you go through some of these clips frame by frame, it's just absolutely hideous. Like, you see some of the frames where you get shot, and your gun is like 45 degrees up in the air, the screen's like twisted to the side, it's completely blurred, and you like click through frame by frame, and it's just like blurred, still blurred, still blurred, still blurred, still blurred, and then it goes back to normal, and then you get hit again, and it's blurred again, blurred again, blurred. So you're only able to see like one frame out of like 7 or something, and that happens for the duration of the fight, and it's just like that's what contributes towards the Tarkov fights for 50-50. But I'm sure you've seen that in tons of clips that you've edited.
Oh yeah, it's really bad. Like, honestly, until you see it in editor, I don't think it's like you don't realize how bad it is once you go frame by frame. Because like it's like, yeah, it's bad, but like in the heat of the moment, you know what I mean? Like you don't really, you know what I mean? You're like reacting to it live versus like analyzing it frame by. Like, it's just totally different experience. I'm watching a Desmond clip on Twitter. He gets shot in the. So I think what happens here, he's shooting Killa, I think, or sorry, Tagillo. And oh no, he doesn't get shot in the head. Okay, he just gets shot in the arm, it looks like. Yeah. But it's such a, like, one frame is a blur. He's still on target. The next frame is like, I don't know, dude, 45 degrees to the left, and then the next frame is like an additional, yeah, and like an additional 15 degrees to the left, and like you can't see down his scope. You can barely see the red dot on his thing, and it's still accelerating. Okay, now it's going back to the center. It's swinging. Okay, he paused the video. He just like your center of your screen is off by like 40 degrees and like 45 degrees, probably more. But you're still shooting, 0 degrees. But your center of the screen's off. It's just like you can't see what you're shooting at. It's blurry. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. This is like what it must be like to get tortured. It's like you have no idea what's happening. It's just, I don't know why. Listen, all right, I am not operating on too much sleep. All right, we're gonna have to bleep that out. Please don't cancel our ads, please.
The real takes today. But I was listening to Jesse talking about it. I can't remember whether it was in the video or whether it was on their cast, and he basically said something which I agreed with, which was that we shouldn't have no aim punch.
Yeah,
that would be silly. But where it is now is so highly overtuned that it needs to be like dramatically decreased. And I think I probably do agree with that in some ways. I think there's some subtle stuff. It's weird actually. So the one thing that I feel is strange is that it is different going through it frame by frame. I think it makes it look a lot worse in frame by frame, partly because like you can actually see exactly what the game is showing you frame by frame, but also I think it looks like doubly worse. So it looks times it looks worse because you actually see the reality for what it is. The other thing, it looks worse unjustifiably and not really because you're not watching it in real time, if that makes sense. So like in some ways, I'm often surprised during a fight that I then watch back how on earth I even figured out like where to shoot at the time,
Right.
like on the ones that I do win. But when you watch the clip at full speed, it's like it's more obvious sometimes at full speed because the human brain's quite good at that kind of thing, right? Like it's you go from you saw a picture and then it happens like subconsciously. This is the thing. Like you see a picture and then it blurs. But you still kind of know where the guy is, and then you see like the shape moving. So you just keep shooting at the shape. Whereas like if you just gave somebody no context and just gave them one of the stills out of the like Aimpunch section,
right,
you probably wouldn't be able to pick out the PMC. But because you've got like contextual information and there's movement in the blur, you can still kind of figure it out sort of. So like it's not necessarily 100% fair. I think it's like 50% fair to take it through step by step and be like, wow, look, this is terrible. Because it's part of it is to do with context. So I mean, I always find that kind of interesting. But even still, it is a lot. Like I remember that the clip that I had just like scrolling through terrible Aimpunch clips. That terrible one that I had where I was astounded that I didn't kill the guy. And then I had to go back through it frame by frame. And it was because when I got shot, my actual visual didn't really get punched very much, but my gun did, like 20 degrees to the left. And I was shooting at a wall behind me. And it was like, if you split the screen into half, on the left-hand side, it was like a quarter of the way along between the middle and the edge. That was where my gun was actually shooting. So I was just like firing with the center of the screen at this guy, but my gun's like off to the left, just permanently as I'm getting hit.
Yeah.
And I didn't kill him. And I was shocked until I watched the clip back. Because I was like, surely, like, is my aim that bad? So that's the thing. It's like the information is so obscured that you don't get a chance to what's the word? Like readjust.
Right. There's little counterplay.
Yeah. It's like you should be punished, sure. Like it should make it harder for you to fight back a bit. But
it's like
you don't get any feedback. Like there's when the feedback loop is broken, at that point you just lose. And it's like there's nothing you do then. That's not fun or engaging. And I do think one thing that would be kind of interesting, I'm like almost tempted to simulate this myself, which is to go and have a look at the Aimpunch effect. Because this is the thing, you have to like look at it, decide how to change it, and then do it at full speed to see what it actually feels like. And I'm like half tempted to simulate it. So, because at the minute, when you look at it frame by frame, it's like blurry, 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 back to normal. And I almost feel like what they could do with, and it would be interesting to see what this would look like if you took the same frame, like time, but the blur decreases every frame. So the blur is the worst on frame 1, and then it decreases, and then it's gone at the normal point at which it disappears. Would that dramatically make it feel better? Like rather than you just being blurry for 6 frames, it's like decreasing over those 6 frames. Like how that would look to the human eye, I'm not actually sure. Because you could probably find a clip, simulate it, like see exactly kind of how much blur there is, simulate it, and then change it in the video. Like you could do it in Premiere. You wouldn't have to do it in like Tarkov itself. You just record a clip and then just try and simulate it using the just using like motion of the camera / like it wouldn't be exactly the same, but it would give you an idea at least. I'm like half tempted to give it a try and just see, because we want to like test bed this kind of thing, but we can't really do it within the game unless you're doing like SPT modding. See what I mean? So I'd be intrigued to see like how that felt, like different lengths of blur, how that would feel, like different intensities. Maybe the first frame is like really intense blur, but then it like drops off quite quickly so that you can then see again. You got shot, like because sometimes like one frame is enough. Like the human eye is especially like at 60 FPS, which is obviously what all our footage is being recorded at. Like 1 or 2 frames is enough. Like if you're watching a piece of footage back and an M62 tracer comes flying past your head, like you see it. You actually see it. Like the human eye is really good at like catching those like things that are like really different on screen. Like I went back and looked at one the other day, and it was literally 2 frames. It was like line, woof, and then gone. But you can see it so easily when you watch the clip. So like for really fast moving things, the human eye, like we don't need to see everything. The human eye will like just deal with it. So we just need to test a load of stuff. And I'm half tempted to try that and just do it in the video editor. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I'm thinking maybe I'm like much more convinced that I actually am going to go and do that and just see what it would look like, just to test it. Why not? Yeah, just to test it. But yeah, I feel like I think there's still some. I think people are still like. There's some. Was anybody else talking about Aimpunch? I feel like there's somebody was going to make something about Aimpunch.
It comes up every once in a while.
I wonder if Trey did actually
one of those topics.
I wonder if he did actually make anything about it.
He might have made a video. I don't know. I'm not subscribed to him.
Not that that really makes any difference these days.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm mostly a sub user.
Oh, really? I tend not to be now. I don't know.
I go through phases. But... so
it doesn't look like it.
A couple things I want to say. I still want to get someone of a freaking 4090, 4080, whatever. I forget which one can do the AV. Is it AV1? I think it is. Anyways, you can like record at like 120 frames at like 4K. Not that you need the 4K, but I would just love to see 124 frames recording slow down in a 60 frame timeline. Like, I just think that would be so great to see. You'd have to do like offline factory co-op to get 120 FPS. I'm assuming we could get that on the machines, but yeah, I would love to see what that would look like. And the only thing about because I think we talked about this idea before, where like the blur drops down is like it scales down. Is sometimes you get him multiple times, so like how would that work?
I guess you would just reset it.
Question. Yeah, which I don't know. That'd be a question mark for me. But the other thing I noticed that you kind of mentioned is like in some of these clips, dude, it's weird because some of them, like in the Desmond clip, for example, his gun doesn't move. I mean, like, I guess maybe it does. Maybe it does go off target. But because he got sent so far to the left, I think his gun does move, actually. Huh.
Does it move left as well?
No, it moved to the opposite direction, right. And he got shot in his PMC's left arm. It's in the top. So if you look at the icon, it's the right arm. But
yeah, so that's his left, yeah, because the PMC's facing you in the
right.
icon.
That's what I'm assuming. But so he got shot in his left arm, so his gun went to the right and his head went to the left.
Weird.
like it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But anyways, that doesn't really matter. But and like in some of these, like this one I'm looking at, dude, it is so intense. Like this is the problem I find is like, okay, what's the skill check? Like what's the game wanting me to do? You know, like in Dark Souls, it's like, okay, the boss is doing an animation, he's winding up. It's like, okay, I know an attack's coming, I gotta do something, you know, I gotta react. It's like, okay, you failed, you get punished, whatever. This is like, what's the skill check here? You know, what was, okay, don't get shot. You know, it just doesn't feel good to me because like it's and then like when you do get shot, it's like you're punished, but like the punishment to me doesn't fit the crime. You know what I mean? It's like this guy's gun on this clip literally goes, he's right on target, right? The aim punch kicks in, so his screen gets blurred. His gun moves to the right off center. And then it goes back to the center and then moves off center to the left and he's dead. And it's like, and I'm watching this in slow motion. If this, you know, play this at normal speed, it's just like you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I watched a Shouldaville short just the other day talking about aim punch. And at one point in the short, he just like starts moving his mouse erratically left and right because the aim punch was so bad, just to like try to get the kill.
Yeah.
And which he pointed out in the video, and the whole video the short was about aim punch and how much it sucks. And what do you know it, dude? In the comments sections, would you guess what people were saying?
Good, bro.
Yes. Or like, what do you mean, bro? That's the recoil in the game. That's how it's supposed to be. It's like, oh my god, dude. Oh, dude, shorts. No offense. Actually, I'll take that back. All offense given to shorts comments, dude. They are some of the worst. Anyways, yeah, dude. I really dislike how it functions because it just feels like it's more coin flippy than it needs to be. Like, one interesting thing is in the dark arts, okay, of Tarkov SP, they have there's this graphics one. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Where he removed the blur for when you get hit. You still have the aim punch.
Right.
Which is interesting. Now there is some what would you call this? Chromatic aberration, Z blur. I don't know. Like RGB blur going on.
Yeah.
But it's not like a Gaussian blur being, pasted over your screen. Which I don't know. I'm cooking up a playthrough. I gotta wait for a few more mods to update. But anyways, I'm curious to try this out and see how it feels. Because like now that you have like some semblance of more information to work with, it might be it's probably a step in the right direction to where it's a little less egregious. Because I don't really know what the right. It's kind of like a complex thing. It's like, what is BSG's vision? Okay, and like, is that good? We'll say,
yeah,
is like one thing. But if like, I don't maybe it's not a right word, but like if their vision is like we want gameplay to be random and we want you to have no control over the game, then it's like, okay, well, mission accomplished. You know what I mean? Can't really argue that. Not a game for me, but again, that's just how it is, right? If that's not the case, then yeah, it's bad, right? That's kind of my point. So like, how can we make it to where it's less? It kind of lines in better with that. That's the tricky part. But I honestly think, man, this like it really just you could just tone down a few things to make it more in line of like other games. Because Aimpunch is in a bunch of games, man.
Yeah,
Counter-Strike has Aimpunch for crying out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's like a good mechanic, but where it's at now, it's just like you can't convince me you have any semblance of control.
I think that's the thing. It's like you could almost leave it the same for the time being as they've done, and just change the blur bit, because then at least there's a feedback loop. You're like, okay, well, I've been shot. I can see where my gun is now.
Yeah.
I can at least try to retain control or something. Like if I have a laser on, like I could still see the dot.
Just need a bit more information, dude. The what you get now is like so. As you said, you try to aim for like the shadowy man that's moving around your screen because it's weird. Why does your gun move and your camera move? That really, I didn't realize that was the case, but that really boggles my brain, dude.
And especially that they can move opposite directions, right?
Yeah,
so your camera moves to the left.
Worse.
So you try and come back to the middle, and then the gun goes even further to the right. If you're doing point shoot at least, and if you're in ADS, like your gun can your aim, your actual like holographic or whatever can swing off, so you can't actually see down it and stuff. You should get punished for being shot, sure. Like that makes sense. I think the funny thing is that in situations where you're getting hit repeatedly, you're almost certainly going to die anyway. So in those ones, it probably actually matters a little bit less. It's just it's when you're right next to somebody and you're both just trading shots. You're not hitting each other bam, 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 because that normally means that you just die. But
have you ever been in a firefight long range with a scav or something, and he's hitting, and you're with a scope, and he's hitting you, and you get the aim punch, and you're trying to one tap him before he kills you, but he's hitting you. And you just can't. It's so. I've been in this situation. It's so annoying. I hate it.
Yeah, I had I had that when all the scavs went up on the roof of the power station the other day. Where I didn't realize that they could even go up there. It was like a scav gang. They all ran on. They were up on the roof. I got shot by one.
Interchange?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
No, and like I shot one up there, and then like there was another, and then like another one ran up the stairs. And they were all up there, just like I only had a hollow, so I was like trying to kill these guys. It was dreadful. But I was just getting just like bam, 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 bam. Just tanking shot after shot with like a class 5 on. It was mad. But yeah, it is tough. You're like, do I just like dip, like try and get back in cover or whatever? Do I keep just firing at him, like hope I just kill him? Like surely I'll just kill him. Yeah.
That is one other thing I would say. If someone wants to do any type of like testing, I want to say if you get shot in your armor and it absorbs it, that you get no aim punch, but you get blur. Like, I don't know. I can't say for certain. But I feel like there's different properties depending on certain variables, but I can't even, like, it could be so extensive to where like it's, scales, the aim punch scales off the damage of the round, and then where it hits, if it penetrates. It could be that crazy.
Yeah, it's like, if you're wearing armor, you get shot in the arm. Do you get aim punched?
I don't know, but I want to say in general, when you get shot, outside the head, you get shot in like the chest, like you get. I know you get blur, and maybe you get a little bit of aim punch. I'm not sure, honestly, because it happens so fast too. Like, it's hard to say.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it's worth testing.
Yeah, but I think it has to absorb for it to like not. Because have you ever gotten to like fights with like a scav or something, and it's like you check and you're like, oh, I got damaged. It's like you kind of like surprised that you took damage.
Yeah.
Because I guess you didn't get that like feedback loop of the aim punch that we're so accustomed to. The shit smeared all over screen.
Yeah, your Gazelle is like 63 out of 65 or something. You got hit by TT, LRNPC or something.
But you never even noticed that.
Really,
Yeah. Something food for thought.
Indeed. So, moving on. Oh, the last week and a bit, dude. I've been trying to find vertexes again. It's every wipe now. It just becomes such a problem. And if you want to go and do Lightkeeper, so that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I was like, get to 42. We're gonna go on and do Lightkeeper. After we've got to Lightkeeper himself, like I've no interest in doing his actual quests. I just want to get to him because he's very useful, or at least he was very useful last wipe, because the end event kind of involved him in some way. If you hadn't got to him, you had to do like 2 extra makeup quests to do it. Like, yes, it was kind of quick. You still had to do 2 more things. So I quite like the ability to get to him, and also like you can go over there and loot if you really want to. I don't like doing that because I think it's a bit boring, but you can do that if you want, if you need money. But it's nice to just achieve him to be in Lightkeeper's favor. So I like that as a task, and it's a lot easier than getting Kappa. You have to do pretty much all of the Kappa quests anyway to get to Lightkeeper. So if you want to do Kappa, then like kind of doesn't really matter. You may as well get to Lightkeeper himself. There's like a few things. Like obviously once you've done like the quests you need to do, then you've got like network provider and like kill a bunch of people on Lighthouse and all of this kind of stuff. So there's a load of things to do once you actually get down his like quest line, but it's not that bad. And the hardest ones by far are finding the items. Those ones are the terrible ones. So the one that I got kept on last time and also this time was Lend-Lease number 2, which is a Peacekeeper task, and you have to get 1 CFTM radio and 2 vertexes, which is a lot. Like the CFTM radios are actually like relatively common, like they're still sort of high value, but they're relatively common. Vertexes are really quite rare.
Yeah,
you don't see them very often. Lots of people just have said like they haven't seen any this wipe. They've seen like 2 LEDXs, but no vertexes. I think it's down partly to the fact that they only spawn in very specific places.
Yeah.
So you can find a LEDX by going to, woods here, or like sometimes they're in, wherever. I got really, really lucky, and the first vertexes wipe I got out of the Moonshine Scav case. That was where I found it first. Like I think last time I said that I played Lighthouse for basically a full day, and I died like 5 out of 6 raids. So I wasn't even getting to the loot spots to even like find the stuff. Right, this is the worst part. Lighthouse is just a really tough map to play. And so I ended up going on streets, and that was kind of one of the reasons why why I got some of the Concordia keys in the first place was because I knew you could get, like, I don't think you can get Vertex on streets. Maybe you can in Check 15, but that's also really highly contested, so it's difficult. But you can get like CFTM radios elsewhere. And I found in one of the apartments in Concordia, I can't remember which one it was, whether it was like apartment 64, 63, or like it was one of those. There was a CFTM radio in there, which was good. Then we found the one Vertex from the Moonshine, so I had to still find this other Vertex. And basically, some people have been like, oh, go to the road camp, like blah, blah, blah. Other people had said, like, maybe play Scav. And I was like, maybe we should just like start hunting these spots as Scav. So I started going, like, I figured that playing daytime Scav there wasn't really much point because people kind of loot the map and play normally on that. If you're playing nighttime Scav, like the PMCs on nighttime typically aren't like, sometimes they do, but they're not typically like looting chalet or like that kind of thing. Really, that's not really what their intention is. Plus, also some of the spots are like quite exposed, like the ones in the broken boxes in the middle of the street and stuff. So, like once you know where the things are, I figured, well, if you go nighttime Scav, most of the PMCs are going to be, trying to get into the rogue camp because it's so much easier to kill the rogues at night. Most people are going to be doing that. So if I do night Scav, then maybe there's going to be less contested loot. And I did a couple of runs like here and there, and it was actually it was really good, honestly. Playing like night Scav and running the chalet, it was much better than I expected. Like I found like one of the last sims that I needed for samples. I found like some VPXs. I found like a mule, which also needed for samples. Like it was great. And then I had one run, and I went through and I found a Vertex, found a CFDM radio, and VPX all in one run on Scav. I was like, man, this is actually insane. Like just do Scav night, like it's so cool. So that's kind of like that's almost my new like mantra for it. I think like I've now found enough radios so that I can do network provider already. Like I don't even need to go back to Lighthouse. Maybe I need to I can't remember if there's something else I need, but I think I've got pretty much everything. It's good. I'm like, wow, this is actually great. So yeah, it's just like the looting thing is like so weird. Like people say, oh, I found XYZ thing here, and like every time you're on Lighthouse, people are like, oh, I found my VPX on reserve, and every time you're on reserve, everyone's like, no, don't go reserve, go Lighthouse. It's like you get like each opposing camp telling you to go to the other place. That's the thing about Vertexes. They do spawn on reserve too. So you can find them there. It is possible. But I think the number of places that you can find them is just like much less. Like it's doable. You can go into King, they're on the server rack. There's some down in D2, but like D2's obviously got its own issues. King is fine, but there's not that many spawns for them. I found a radio last time in King. There's people have said like technically you can find them in the dome rooms. There's like 3 keyed rooms up in the dome. It's like Call, RB, I can't remember the names of them even, but there's 3 keys that I bought to go up there. There's like I just find there's not really ever any loot up there. Whereas Lighthouse on the other hand has been pretty profitable, to be honest, even though I'm not that keen on the map. I think like ever since that they put all those claymores up on the big rocks, I've like really just that was the one thing that I found fun about Lighthouse. And now it's just really annoying and painful. So I just don't really like it anymore. So I was like, fine, we're just like scav main on Lighthouse now at this point. It's like crazy. But yeah, it's interesting. Like Streets is a good map for loot. It is. It's like high tier loot all over the place. And one thing I don't really know is whether this must be true. Different duffel bags on different maps in different places must have different loot pools. They must do. Like one of the CFDM radios I found in Hillside House, for example. So I was like, I've never ever found a radio in duffel bag before. Like the CFDM radio must just be part of the loot pool for Lighthouse. So anything can spawn in the duffels, and so therefore it spawns in there. You know what I mean? Because like on the streets, sometimes you can find like a GPU in a duffel. I know you can probably find GPUs in duffels anywhere, but like I've literally never found a CFDM radio anywhere else inside a duffel bag. And yeah, some of the things like that, they just feel like a bit more skewed towards those maps in general. So like Lighthouse and Streets, there's still those like loose loot and general spawns do seem to perform better than on other maps. At least that's my feeling. Yeah. I don't know whether that's your experience prior to this patch.
I would say so. I mean, I can't really think of a good example off the top of my head. Anything specific.
Yeah, it's just like I know that I've had a few GPUs in Streets bags. I don't feel I've had I mean, there's just a lot of duffels on Streets though as well. So it's like hard to like
it's hard
detach these things in your own head because you're like, well, I've looped so many duffels on Streets. It's like, well, maybe that's why.
It would surprise me. I'll say that.
Yeah,
if that was the case.
No, it's strange, but it's funny actually. I've gone from I think like last week because I like started doing kind of more like looting of items. And I'm not a prolific looter, right? I just loot incidentally, and like I get enough to keep myself going, and then I use the hideout to get the rest of the money. And there's like factory scav run throughs, which just they net you like 100k or something while I'm like editing. I went from I think last week I must have had about 23 million, I think, something like that. Like literally 1 week later, I have like 33 mil. It's insane. I've made like 10 mil in a week. It's bonkers. It's like way more than I expected. And I think it's just like it's actually going to the high value locations, like picking up stuff. Like I went into the center to the car dealership, one way to the scav on streets. I was actually more testing like the graphics more than anything else. I was like testing just a few things. Like, well, we'll just run to the car dealership, just like see how it performs, blah blah. Went inside the in the car dealership there's the sort of like the office of the it's outside. There's a hole in the wall, right? So it's if you're in like the sort of the scav like trailer park kind of like what do you call like cargo containers area, there's a building with a hole in the wall, and it's like an office building. There's like lots of filing cabinets and stuff. That building used to be okay, but there's like a ton of filing cabinets and it was fine. That's like the loot in there has been like cranked up to 11. It's nuts. And I went in and it was like golden rooster, like silver badges, like it was mental. There's like stims in there, like loads of stuff, and no one had looted it at all. It's like some random night raid. So like some of these raids have come up with like tons of cash. There's just like intel in the filing cabinets and stuff, and just like man, that's like 300k on its own. And then I had this like ridiculous raid where I was trying to do this lighthouse thing where I was just like, oh, I'll just go into scav, and I'll just every time I've got it up, I'll just go in, just check the spawns, and then leave, just to try and get this vertex that can drive me crazy. Spawned in, was over the not the like broken sunken village bit, but like the normal village section, the one with like hillside house and the gamer's house and that kind of stuff. I was like up on the cliff edge. I heard somebody, but I was like, I'm scav, just didn't really think much of it. Run down, go to kind of like around the sort of the road middle section where the fencing is. Some guy starts like taking shots. I'm like with two AI scavs. The one AI scav dies. I'm just like trying to figure out where this guy is. The second AI scav dies. I'm like, oh man, I had like some crappy gun. It was like really, really bad. So I like pinched the 209, the 209 off of one of the scavs, and then just like waited. I was just like trying to see this dude. The guy comes down from the hills. I can hear him, but I can't see him. And then his head just like appears. He's like creep walking. This is like 20 minutes remaining on Lighthouse. Like creep walking between the fencing, and I can just see his like the top of his like blue untar helmet. So I like stand up, just like dome him with like one shot, run round, go and loot the guy. He's got like a fully decked out TX-15, which was kind of cool. They had like an armor repair kit in his bag and like a bunch of other stuff. I was right next to the Path to Shoreline extract, so I just left. And I was like, oh man, the gun's like, I'll take a few bits, and the rest of the gun's worth 150k. He had like some other stuff, probably worth like 200,000. And then the armor repair kits were like 750k on the fleet. I was just like, damn, literally just made like 1,000,000 rubles. It took like 4 minutes. I was like, I've just been getting like really lucky on loot this week, which is mental. But no, it's been kind of like, it's been kind of eye opening. Like I've never had an issue with cash, but I've never gone out of my way to make tons because I'm always so like time constrained that I'm like trying to do quests more than anything else. Like make sure I keep myself afloat, sure, but focusing mainly on questing more than anything else. But like, yeah, it's mad actually how much money if you focus on looting over everything else. Like, dude, it's insane how much money you can make. Actually, it's just bonkers.
Oh, dude, people are gonna not like me for this, but I'm gonna say it. I don't like scavs. I don't
like playing scav or don't like.
I don't like the idea of pimping out your scav to fund your PMC. I just don't know, man. I don't know.
It's like the lifeline. The thing is, the lifeline doesn't ever cut off, so you can just do it even if you're high level or whatever.
It's worse because it gets better the more you do it.
Yeah, true.
I don't know, man. I feel like it's even like I don't know, the way it's set up too is so weird because like let's say you're you're checking out the wipe, but you already know you're not gonna play the game. Like you're not gonna go hardcore, right? So like who cares about your karma in that instance? You know what I mean? Like you're kind of like incentivized in a way if you're like, intentionally going to not play the entire wipe. You're just like kind of incentivized to throw away your karma for like the here and now, so to speak. And if you're gonna play the long haul, well, like you're definitely incentivized to grind it out. I don't know. I don't really know.
Ton of good stuff like labs cars, like all sorts of stuff on your scav. Even like I don't even have max rep. I'm like 4.7 or something, and I get like tons of good stuff like Gingy keychains constantly on my scav. As I said, labs cards like stims, like cyclones, like high value items. Like it's just I don't know.
Yeah, I would rather like. I would just almost rather you just get free gear instead of like basically liquid rubles, you know, because it's all sellable in the flea market.
Yeah,
unless it's banned
all
on the
finding
flea.
raid.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's just I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me. But like I said, it's probably a very unpopular opinion.
I know what you mean because it's like too easy, right? Like Scav should be a tool for people to learn the game.
I'd say
Than
learn
just
the
like,
game or like, and also I'm sorry to cut you. I'm really bad about that today.
that's
And
good.
also like, because I think you need some kind of mechanic to come back. Like you don't want to be in a situation where you have 0 rubles and your only option is to hatch a run, and like that's just not good. So like you need something because it's an economic. There's an economical side of the game, so you need some like welfare program. You know,
Yeah,
you need something there, in my opinion. Otherwise, you're kind of just like locked out playing, which is not good. You don't want that. And BSG themselves are kind of incentivized to have it, you know, where you know the game's like challenging, but it's also not challenging. You know what I mean? Like there's this kind of weird, like they want the game to be accessible, I should say. They don't want to like completely lock people out in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of, I don't know. I think like my position on it is like I just don't really care. I think that's my like the official Giga position. I don't really care. I think because a lot of players, like a lot of high tier players, just like don't play their scav. I don't think it influences other people's experience enough to the point at which it matters. I think is what I would say. Like, does it make the game easier? Like, yeah, for sure. Like, definitely. Like, if you had to go and loot everything on your actual PMC, then yeah, be way harder. So does it really matter? It's hard to say. I don't know how you change it so that it would make more sense, or like that it would still be accessible early. Like the only thing that came to mind was like some kind of like scaling fee to play scav. So it's like 0 when you're up to like, up to like, 5 million rubles or something. And then there's like a slowly increasing fee. So that when you've got like a lot of stash value, that it's like too expensive to bother doing. But that just feels kind of bad.
Yeah.
So I don't really know.
Well, see, this is the thing. Is like, I don't really have an issue with like, as you said, like the good players are not gonna have an issue making money, right? It's like for me, okay, here's my main issue is like I'm at a point now where rubles are meaningless because I have scav. Do you know what I mean? It's like I can literally operate on like 1,000 rubles.
You still have to go do it though, right?
Yes, but it's like it's always there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like what the difference between like 1 million and like 1,000 rubles, depending on what's in my stash, is like not really that much difference. Because if I like absolutely need something, I don't have anything to sell, I can just go play scav. You know what I mean? If there's like a quest to hand in like 5 million rubles, well, that's just a scav quest in my opinion. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I could do PFC as well. Yeah, I don't know. It's just that's kind of my problem. Is like I feel like the floor is, oh man, how can I word this in a way? The ceiling's uncapped on it, and the floor is, I don't know.
It's the time invested in doing it, isn't it? But you got to wait for the cooldown. Like you can't do it infinitely. I don't know. I feel that this is a very much like. I feel this problem maybe is like bigger than this. I think maybe it would be an issue if having 1,000 rubles, like, I just feel that for an experienced player, I keep like restarting what I'm saying because I'm trying to word it in the right way. I feel that having the difference between 1,000 rubles and 1 million rubles not being very much for an experienced player is the same irrespective of whether Scav is like available or not. Because as an experienced player, like as PMC, you can still also probably scrape yourself out the hole. Like, it doesn't really matter.
Well, the difference is you have to risk something. You have to put something in line.
True, but you could risk something just really, really basic. Like it's so cheap to go in and just like be functional.
Absolutely, but you're still risking something. That's kind of my issue. Is like,
yeah, but I think the difference is like pretty much it's kind of moot for an experienced player because it's like what you risk is worth so little, and it's measured also in rubles. That because rubles are so easy to make for an experienced player, that what you risk also doesn't matter. If we say rubles doesn't matter, then the 100k kit you put together to go and farm rubles also doesn't matter. So it's like it's also negligible. So really, it's like I don't think it matters too much. If you're if it was like harder to make money as PMC, then I think maybe it would make more like maybe I would care more. But like because it isn't, I'm not sure if it really like matters. Like if you want to play it as Scav, then fine. If you want to play as PMC, you also can do that. I guess the downside also is like you're not leveling your character, like you're not getting skills and like as PMC you can do tasks as well as loot, like but it is it is undeniably easier as Scav because you spawn in with like 30 minutes to go and like all the PMCs have killed each other. And the worst I think there's like an unsaid thing here, which is that playing as PMC means that I might have to fight someone off spawn. It's very unlikely as a Scav. And also none of the AIs will shoot at me, which also makes certain maps a la Streets and Lighthouse much, much easier. There's certain maps I think that playing PMC is like extra hard because of the Scavs. Like Lighthouse is very constricted anyway. Like you don't want to run in the road. You don't want to run on the cliffs. Like you've got to run like maybe are you going to run on the beach? Like you're going to run through the chalet. Like you got to run through a hotspot or an open area no matter what you do. Whereas a Scav and you've also then got to like not get shot at by Scavs because everyone knows where you are. Like Streets is a bit like that in some ways because it's not as congested, but the Scavs like everywhere. So you just leave a trail of just like one on Suka behind you no matter where you go. Whereas a Scav, you could just like run around and do whatever you like. Because like, how many PMCs are there by the time you spawn in? Like 2, maybe 1. Like I hardly ever see PMCs when I play a Scav. Like I could count on one hand the number of times I've seen players on non-factory as playing Scav this wipe. Like I can run around Lighthouse, literally like without a care in the world, as if there are no players there at all. And I have never ever been shot at to date.
It's
right. It's like there was so few PMC. Like factory, sometimes I find players, which is the reason why I go there to try and kill them. I did have a really annoying one the other day. I like gunned a PMC down in the corridor down by like the blinking light extract, killed him. Some other Scav comes around the corner. Like I'm looting. He like takes one look at me and just like shoots me in the head. Like I was just like, dude, really? Like he saw that I killed the player and like he wanted to play a loot, and he was like, not even that great. And I looked the guy up. I was just like, it's like level 43. I was just like, what are you doing, man? Like, come on, like really? Surely you've got better things to be doing. He was a Scav. He was a fellow Scav. So I killed this guy with like an SKS with like HP. I like legged this guy with HP. I was like so proud of myself, and I was looting the body. And the guy came like down the corridor. What looked at me for a minute? I just started looting. I was just like, whatever, I don't care. Like I'm not gonna engage with it. And then he shoots me and then starts looting the body. And like, yeah, I looked his PMC up and he's like level 42 or something. I was just like,
that's surprising, but maybe he doesn't care. Like this is the other kind of problem thing is like if you don't care about your Scav, like let's say it's easy for you to make money in your PMC, then you're kind of also incentivized to take on your Scav.
Yeah, because you just don't care. Right. Yeah,
but I don't. That's really surprising. He shot you. Maybe he just really wanted that. I don't know. That was kind of mysterious.
Really wanted it. Maybe he needed dog tags or something. I don't know. Not sure. I was a bit like, really? Like that hasn't happened for a bit. But yeah, on the other maps, I just never see anyone when I'm playing a Scav, and it's like it's so easy. I think this was maybe 2 weeks ago when I was saying to you, I was like, I've been playing like Scav on Streets, and it's so easy. Like I hardly play any Scav outside of factory anymore. And I either am like running through in like as short a possible time to just like fence the kit because, to get like 0.0 or 1 rep was really what I'm doing it for. And it's running in the background. It takes me 7 seconds of active gameplay. And then I just press spell all to fence and then I move on with my life. Like it takes me no time. Or I'm hunting PMCs. Like outside of that, and I was like, oh, let's actually go and have a look at Streets, like do some locations I don't normally go as PMC. It's like a bit more free as Scav. And I was just like, oh my God, I could just go around and just like farm the entire map. It is so easy. No one ever shoots at me. Like it's just it's so easy playing Scav. It's so easy. But I mean that's quite nice sometimes.
Yeah, I mean I can't deny it's nice having that ability. I just think the abilities too. One thing that I will say that makes this compounds it, making it worse in my opinion, is the fact that you have scav karma to incentivize people to like, not kill each other, basically, like even more amplifies that whole like no combat. It's going to be easy, right? So it's anyways. But
I got killed by a fellow scav and I was shocked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Like back in the day, that was like the state to play.
This is the thing. It's like I can't figure out his logic behind that. You know what I mean? It's like, what is possibly worth? And like like he would have to have seen you loot a vertex for me to like be like, okay, that makes sense. I can see why you took the karma loss. You know what I mean? But like for some PFC loot, like that's just like any other. You can get that any day on the scav. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. It's just I can't like the trade for losing more scav time, having a longer cooldowns. It's just I can't really wrap my head. But hey, to each their own. But I just think, irrespective of like skill, I just think the abilities too busted. Like the cap on it is just way too high, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of would be you do like found as scav, or maybe it's like covered in shit. CIS. Your scav, he had to pull it out from the poop mount. I don't know. But like maybe something like that where like you could sell on the flea, or like maybe you could only sell defense, or you could use it. I don't like something like where like you still get something. Just lower the ceiling is kind of what I'm thinking. But
yeah, I mean, like
I'm well aware that
really terrible. Like to make scav items like not found in raid when you leave, it's not necessarily terrible. It would be very unpopular, but it wouldn't necessarily be terrible. Like as an overall game design choice, because I mean, like to be honest, like scav is super useful for certain things. Like you have, I don't know what the loot pool is, but it's just crazy. I don't know what the spawn chance is for like stuff to be on your guy, but like completing some things like samples and stuff. Like your scav is a very useful loot pool. You just kind of want, that's partly why I do these factory runs, right? Because you just want to roll your scav over and over and over and over and over again. Because you get loads of stems and all sorts of stuff, like hideout stuff, like things for Kappa items, streamer items, like loads of things, just randomly on your scav. Like the loot pool's really good, so you want to roll that loot pool as many times as you can. Half the time it's better than the stuff you can get from the map. So just like go and grab that, run out the factory, like 7 seconds, boom, out we go. So yeah, that's a bit broken.
Last swipe, I played a decent amount of scavving. I don't remember what I got it up to, but it was maybe like somewhere between 1 and 2 karma, that is. But I don't think I got hardly any stems. Like I think because I'm pretty sure you get, as you go up the tiers, you get better and better rolls for what you spawn with.
I think so.
I'm assuming not only just gear, but also what's in your inventory. But I don't know if it's like a numbers game or if it's like a bit of both, where you gotta like have higher, it's probably ideally it's a bit of both. But anyways, all right, yeah, let me move on before I get crucified and burned at the stake. What else we got here?
So we've got some.
Tell me about some Tarkov killers.
Oh, some Tarkov killers. So there's a few new games that are like in the pipeline that have like started floating around. The first one, I guess, is kind of like, the thing is like none of these. I feel like a lot of them is just like buzzwords. This one's kind of interesting. So this one is called Nakwon Last Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one that's, well, still a shooter, I suppose. Where was the one? There was actually let me find it. There was an article in particular. Here we go. So this one is from NME, who were writing about it, and they basically said, Dave the Diver Studio is working on an Escape from Tarkov style zombie survival game. This is like the one that I was actually sent by somebody. The Steam description says, Nakwon is a third-person view. So it's not FPS, it's third person. zombie apocalypse stealth survival game. Experience a new form of post-apocalyptic life you've never seen before. Explore extraction, survival, and gather resources from the PvPvE city where zombies and survivors coexist to survive in this new societal structure. Now, what is kind of interesting about this in a sort of like weird tangential way is it's made by the studio that brought Dave the Diver to you, right? Which is apparently some like hit game that people are enjoying. I've not played it. I don't really know anything about it. Which is Mint Rocket is the developer, and I think the only reason why I know about these guys is because they were in the running for like it was like top 10 indie game or something along those lines. And the only reason why I know that is because OnePeg has been putting them on blast on Twitter because Mint Rocket, as he claims, I mean, I don't know anything else other than this really. I've just read what he's written. Is that Mint Rocket isn't actually an indie dev company, although you could argue that it is or it isn't, depending on your viewpoint. But it's actually a wholly owned subsidiary of Nexon.
Oh, I just clicked on their on Steam. It'll tell you like developer publisher, and it said Mint Rocket. And I clicked on it, and it took me to Nexon.
Exactly. So like, I believe that they are like an independent grouping in the way that they run or whatever. Like maybe they get bought. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, they might.
But anyway, yeah. So anyway, those are the people who are making this thing, and it seems kind of interesting. The setting makes sense given that it is Nexon, like backed or whatever, because it is in the South Korean capital city of Seoul, which is kind of intriguing. And it looks a bit more like it's probably a bit more like Last of Us meets like DayZ, I guess. I'm not really sure how Tarkov-y it is.
Yeah, I could see that.
But there's some interesting stuff. Like, I mean, so it says like as a sort of background, it says like South Korea has a highly stringent set of regulations regarding gun ownership. Things like revolvers and shotguns are rare, and bullets are more expensive than the guns themselves. Seoul's dense structure makes it advantageous for humans, allowing them to hide and find new locations for looting. And it says, interestingly, the zombies in Last Paradise are actually unkillable, and all players can do is put some distance between themselves and certain death and disable them for a brief moment. Which is kind of an interesting design choice. Like,
yeah,
it sounds much more like a game of stealth,
right,
than necessarily a high octane looter shooter. It's definitely not the same kind of thing, but it's got these like survivally elements. You can like barter stuff to get like privileges as like as a citizen within the settlement. You can go in and collect resources, that kind of stuff. And it's like every day you must decide whether to go out for scouting or stay inside, but you must constantly secure more food to avoid starvation and make the best choice when an unexpected event occurs. So it sounds kind of cool. They've said that they're going to do a pre-alpha later in the year. I guess this year. Like this article was from the 28th of September, so it's like pretty recent. It's like 2 weeks ago. And they've been developing it for a year. So who knows? It's kind of intriguing though because it's Nexon. Yeah, it does make you wonder because it's like, oh well, they were making a Tarkov thing which was dark and dark, or like they were thinking about it, but they shelved that project. Like maybe they switched to this. I don't really know. It's got this overshadowing from like the dark and darker like lawsuit and stuff in the background because it's another Nexon affiliated project that's sort of similar maybe to EFT. It's hard to know exactly like where the parallels are for that, but yeah, kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
I kind of like that design choice where it's like you kind of lean him in more to the survival side where it's not necessarily about like, defeating the enemy, but rather like just staving them off for long enough for you to survive or whatever. I mean, I'm not third person really turns me off, but now that it's a little less combat-y, maybe I could get behind it, but I mean, it might be something. I mean, apparently Steam says it's similar to Lost Light. It's going, is this game relevant to you? It's similar to Lost Light.
Huh. Yeah,
it's probably because it's Korean.
Probably. If the sort of the puzzle and the difficulty is around the zombies, then I probably don't mind third person. The thing that I don't like third person for, what really turned me off third person, was playing. Actually, when I first was playing PUBG, that's the thing that really turned me off because that was the first game that I played that was like properly like multiplayer. was competitive and also had both modes. And you could just like lie behind cover and just like watch people turning up and just get free information. That was the thing that was awful. So like, as long as it's not like that so much, and that it's more about fighting against the zombies, because like having an unfair advantage against the AI, like I don't care, right? That doesn't matter,
right?
So it depends on like the structure of the game, like how you interact with other players, like whether you're going to be able to do exactly that, just like stand behind a pillar, like just free look around it, and then step out and just shotgun somebody. That's going to kind of suck.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but maybe it could be okay. It's another one to watch out for, at least. They actually do. I think they did. Yeah, they did a full post about it. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't realize. I've seen a link that I hadn't seen before. The core of fun in this game lies in your ability to survive on your own amid the extreme tension of the aggressive zombies and unreliable survivors.
Yeah, because it makes me wonder, are they doing like a, hideout-esque thing where you loot stuff and you barter stuff and you gear up and go in? If not, it's kind of more like Battle Royale-esque where you go in and, compete to win. I don't know if it's really going to be for me. I mean, it's already kind of like not for me territory, but if it's like that, then it's probably definitely not going to be for me. Like, it'll be fun, like, to play 1 or 2 games and like, haha, look at this, lol.
The one thing that I thought was kind of cool from the trailer, I mean, the trailers are hard to, like, you look at the Tarkov trailer as well, it doesn't really tell you what the emergent gameplay is actually going to be like. But one thing that was kind of cool was, they was sort of leaning into some of the stealth aspects where you could throw a rock and like distract the zombies and that kind of stuff. Like that, that's kind of fun, like a bit more immersive. Like, the zombies are part of the environment or whatever, which is kind of cool. So I quite like the idea of that. Someone say here. Yeah, I find it's kind of more of the same. Yeah, well, we shall see.
Mm-hmm.
We shall see. Yeah, it's still scheduled for 2023 for the pre-alpha. So the other one, which like this is like moving even further away from Tarkov, and I only saw this because Hestily retweeted the announcement on Twitter, and this was Seekers of Skyvale. Hesterly's like, let me find actually what he said, because he basically was like, I used to be like Path of Exile, like Diablo main, basically. Yeah, so it's the PC Gamer like article, which was Seekers of Skyvale matches up Diablo with Escape from Tarkov in a PvPvE fantasy extraction RPG that begins alpha testing later this month. And he was like, I could actually get behind this. Diablo / Path of Exile was my main before Tarkov, which is kind of interesting. So I had a quick look and like watched the trailer. The trailer is like extraordinary cringe on an extreme level.
Well,
right?
I'm watching the gameplay one. Are you watching like the non-gameplay
I mean, that's the same one. No, that's the same one. Yeah, the voiceover. Yeah, like you're watching it without any sound. Like,
yeah, no sound.
I wouldn't put the sound on if I was you.
All right.
It's like it's terrible. It's like
Let me just see.
It's like conduct epic battles, like level your ability. It's like the worst type of like classic video game trailer voiceover ever. It just seems really, really bad. Maybe you've got a longer version than me, actually. I think I only saw the first section, like the teaser. Maybe or maybe not. I'm not sure, actually. Or maybe that is the full one. No, but it's not a very good trailer, in my opinion. Right. And it doesn't, like, saying that it matches like Diablo with Escape from Tarkov and then like looking like this, that doesn't.
Yeah.
I feel that's a bit disingenuous.
I mean, like, gameplay of Escape from Tarkov. Okay, so I'm assuming that means extraction. That's like the only thing that. Yeah. Or does it mean looting? Like
loot. Like when someone says that, I normally think when you die, you lose your stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you go into loot and extract things out of a raid.
Right.
You have an infill and an exfil. That's sort of like kind of that's of some description.
What? Sorry, this character looks like a Dota 2 creep. Like a Giga. Do you see this?
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? It looks like League. Like all things, like being serious about this, right? I don't think it looks like Diablo at all. It looks like League of Legends, which is fine in a game like League, but that kind of like the art style and like the speed of the character and stuff, like that's an intentional competitive design choice for MOBAs. Right. But for a game that's like a sort of, I don't know, an ARPG, like Diablo or whatever. Like, I just don't think that really fits very well. Apparently, it's in the League engine, which doesn't surprise me in the
Okay, that makes
slightest.
so much sense. Yeah, because it does look like a.
That's according to somebody in chat. I don't know if I don't know. That someone said it in chat. So
okay.
but yes, it says back in February there was a new co-op action RPG was teased called Project Skies. Today it officially released the game. Fair to say things have changed a little bit. It's now called Seekers of Skyvale and is this PvPvE thing. Blends conventional ARPG mechanics with an unusual mix of influences from games like League and Tarkov. Teams play in groups of 3 seekers and sends them out into a fancy world to go for loot and treasure rather than a linear grind. You can come and go and run as you like in this game. The clock is ticking. You can't just head home whenever you feel like it. There's no town portal mechanics. The only way out is through a set extraction points. And of course, if you die before you escape, then all of your loot is lost. I don't know how specific the wording is that we should see, speak about there. Like, is it just loot? Is it gear? We don't know. The game is initially envisioned as PvPvE Project Skies. Initially intended to be more. Oh, it was initially intended to be more of a conventional ARPG. They saw much greater potential in it when they started playing the playtest. Of course, like all these other people who are like, hold on, we could just make this an extraction ARPG.
Right.
And write that in the thing and get better funding for it. I'm sure. More fleshed out version of the mode, some experimentation, they decided an extract mechanic would be a good fit. So we will see. I mean, if it plays the way it looks, I will not be playing it.
I just
Who knows?
don't know.
But it doesn't look good. It doesn't look fun. It doesn't look fun to play.
Well, it's just like if you really like League or Dota, like, maybe I could, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I like Dota, but like League, not so much. I mean, I think I've played a little bit of it. Yeah, but it's just too, it's just not Dota. Okay, I'm a Dota baby. All right, I can't do the League thing.
I think you only ever really do one or the other. Like I've met very few people that play both.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. But like, it feels like, as you said, it's intentionally trying to hit the League, similarities to where the hope is like you can, this will like replace that. This will be the new hot thing. I don't know. I don't really know. It's just, I don't know, man. I just can't.
The genre is dominated by dark, serious, oftentimes militaristic environments. If you're not a fan of FPS, then there's not many options for you, which is true. We want to combine the high-paced thrills of a genre with more tactically orientated MOBA-style combat to create something fresh for players. I just feel like the way that I feel, right, is that like MOBA works because you're playing like it's a competitive PvP game. That's why the MOBA stuff is interesting, right? It's like you and they're very punishing. You take like and as I said, everything's very deliberate, right? The design choices around like player movement and stuff are like very deliberate. It's like you can get out of position so easily. Like people exploit the mistakes that you make in a MOBA like to the extreme. You put like you would go 1 footstep too far, and then you get caught by like slows and stuff. You can't get back in time, behind your tower or whatever. Like, does that really work playing like PvE looting? I don't know. Like, now maybe it'll be great. Who knows?
Sorry,
maybe it'll be really good.
Solely PvE?
No, it's PvPvE or PvEVP, whatever you want to call it. But like, there's going to be an E part, and the E part is surely just going to be really dull. I don't know. It's going to be like farming the jungle, the game. I'm not sure. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not sure about it. And
man.
it doesn't look that like the fun for MOBAs comes from that like the structure around that game of farming the creeps and like avoiding the people and then doing the thing, like building up. Like, yeah, it's the build up and everything.
And the way parts.
Exactly. Whereas like if you just take if you just took like laning combat, like it's not it's not that engaging, especially like I don't know. Especially if you're mostly fighting against like creep type entities. Whatever. I'm not sure about it. Like I'm very skeptical. I'm willing to give it a try, but I'm very skeptical that it would feel fun to play in the same way that a MOBA does, because I just think it's a very different vibe. But who knows? Like who knows? Who knows? Go for it. Try it. Why not? Maybe it'll be the next best thing. No idea. Man. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I do feel like extraction is the new like it's just the new buzzword to try and get people interested in these games,
I mean,
it's probably easier to get those projects through like internally too. Like, oh, we're making some. Oh, it's a bit different. Oh, we're making an extraction game this time. Oh, okay, yeah, you try that then. Maybe it'll work out.
I mean, there is some credence to like developers. So I've heard, they'll be, working on a new game, hot game will come out. They're gamers typically, game devs, and they'll play it and be like, wow, I really like this certain thing or this aspect, and how can we cram this into my current game I'm developing, So like there's credence for like inspiration. I don't know, man. Just that whole MOBA thing just really throwing me off. But maybe there's potential. Maybe.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Exactly. It looks weird. That was the first thing when I saw it and like heard the overlay. I was just like, this doesn't look anything like because I saw Diablo / Escape from Tarkov, and I was just like, why am I just watching like League footage? This is really weird. Yeah,
and then
so
like
maybe it was missold.
And then when you try to like piece it together in your head, it's just like I can't really see the fun in it. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. I have no idea. No idea on that one. That one's a wild card for sure. That one has the potential to be like amazingly good because it's just like the most random new hot thing that's like super innovative that no one's ever done before, and then it has the potential to just like crash and burn instantly.
Yeah, no, because I was thinking it was funny. It actually got when I saw the article, it got me thinking like, oh, if it looked like D2, like would that be sick? Would like a Diablo 2 extraction ARPG be good? Like the gameplay of like D2 with an extraction overlay. I was like, how would that work? Like, would that actually be good or not? I don't know. I'm still deciding. But I would be more excited about something that looked like that, or like, it's like a Path of Exile style thing rather than looking like this. I just like those games just, and maybe it's one of those things where like, oh, it's the trailer, right? And so it's just the devs like messing about or whatever. I feel like those games kind of need to be a bit more high like the high speed to make it feel fun. I don't know. There's many ways they could go about it, so we shall see, I guess. And also, like some of the combat, like people looked very, very spongy, which again, I don't know. There's something to that. But like Diablo's always been kind of sometimes you just get hit by something and you nearly die and you're like, as if everybody's got like way too much HP, and it's like I don't know.
Yeah, like
I got bad vibes from the whole thing so far.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like bewildered. That's my vibes.
Just bewildered.
Yeah.
I mean, the other ones, I guess we talked a bit about. We talked a bit about Road to Vostok last time, didn't we? That he was like porting everything over to the other game engine, which is kind of interesting. There was something that I didn't get a chance to actually look at like properly. I think there's like some more things. Maybe I'll have a look at this before we go, before we do the next one, which is the We the People, because I think they've had a few other, like, not casts or whatever, but there's like some other things that they've put up online. But like, as I said, I haven't had a chance to look at it because I think that's one of the other ones that actually looks kind of good. So I'm gonna have to go and see like what they've done. I thought I'd saved a tab for that, but I'm not sure. Maybe I haven't. We the People game. I'm just gonna have a look because there was something that I saw. Actually, I think I've lost this. There was an article which is with We the People and the AnyBrain AI like anti-cheat guys.
Oh.
That we talked about like ages ago.
Right.
And there's an article about it that I didn't get a chance to read beforehand. So maybe it's maybe for next time it's going to be worth having a look at that because I think they've maybe done some more stuff. Like I've seen some props and assets that they've been putting up on Twitter, which is kind of interesting. They had like a sort of PDA kind of device thing that they've built. Like they're still investing in, I think that the technology at this point to actually try and like build the game properly. Like they basically were like, here's this PDA that we built, but it's the first for us because we've gone from conceptualization through to it actually working in the game in like 3 days, which is the fastest we've ever been able to like implement something. So they're sort of investing in like the technology to build the game still as well. This is why this thing's so early access or whatever. But it's one of those interesting ones. So yeah, I'll check out that before we come back next time, and we could talk about that. I'll write it down, otherwise we'll forget. Because they're talking about anti-cheat, and it's obviously really important, right? If you're making a new like PvP game,
yeah,
you got to think about anti-cheat almost first and foremost before you do anything else. It was like the guys from Valorant, as we were talking about last week. So, yep, we shall see. We shall see.
So yeah, I guess just to close out here, as you know, been on a hiatus from Tarkov, but recently, Tarkov SP has gotten updated to it was the latest branch until BSG launched a patch. But it's the new update, so it has like the Streets expansion, the Kaban, all that stuff. And I've been looking for an excuse to play the Realism mod again because there was a ton of new stuff added. Mm-hmm. In addition, there's also this other mod that I didn't get a chance to try at the time, but I had my eye on it because I think when I found out about it, it was not being supported. Like it wasn't being kept updated. And then what ended up happening since then is some other modder picked up the pieces that was left behind and just started updating it. And that is called, I think it's called Traveler. It used to be called Path to Tarkov. And what it is, it's an overhaul where it completely changes how the game works. And it's basically map to map travel in Tarkov. And there's a whole like, you if you go to, I'm trying to see if I can find the map screenshot. Yeah, this looks like this one's a little bit better. But if you depending on where you go, it's quite tiny. Let me see if I can blow it up. Of course not. Can kind of blow it up. It's blurry. So if you go to, depending on where you go, it will, like where you extract, it'll spit you out to certain locations. So like here, if I'm looking at the map, right? Let's see. So you got Crossroads on customs. If you take that extract, it will take you to Road to Customs on Shoreline, right?
Yeah.
And if you take Railroad to Tarkov, which I think they added scav extracts.
Some?
Okay. Yeah, into the PMC extracts. So Railroad to Tarkov, you'll go to Railway on Interchange. And yeah, there's different stuff. It looks like you start at Warehouse on Customs, which you have Therapists, I think. So like you probably always spawn Customs and you can traverse around that way. But essentially, you go to you'll have like one map accessible, like Customs, right? You go there and you'll have like a trader in the menu. Those should be therapists. So depending on where you extract, it'll spit you out somewhere else. So like in the case, we'll say we took Crossroads, it now puts us on Shoreline. So then when we leave the raid on Customs, we go back to the menu. We'll now have the Shoreline trader unlocked, which I'm assuming is Peacekeeper. I don't know if I can find it here. Anyways, we'll have some trader unlocked. Oh no, Peacekeepers. Anyways, you'll have some trader unlocked, and then you'll have Shoreline unlocked. So then you go back to Shoreline, and you'll spawn at Road to Customs, and you'll have to go to the other side. Let's say you go to Path to Shoreline Lighthouse, and obviously you'll spawn a Lighthouse. You'll have that trader. It's pretty cool. It's basically kind of like this pseudo open world experience. Which I'm really excited to play that in combination with Realism mod, a bunch of other mods. Apparently, these two are like pretty Realism mod, and this one's called Traveler or Path to Tarkov. It's like really popular within the community.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited because the Realism mod's gotten like, dude, oh my god, they got He's got bracing in now,
Ooh.
where you can like brace your gun on like walls and corners and stuff, and like
Ow.
wizard magic. It's really cool. Because it's like it's automated too. You don't have to like do anything. It's just like it's like intuitive.
Mm.
He's got bayonets, which is kind of funny to me. Parallax, where something to do with like how sights in your eyes work. Anyways, new recoil system, which I'm curious. There's like tons of stuff, and then dude, these guys are getting insane, GigaBeef, insane with the mods right now. So they've like got like AI overhauls too. Like there's this one. I'm gonna see if I can find the name of it. I think it's called Sane, and it's an acronym for something. SAIN. But it does. So let's see. It's a full AI combat system replacement. Okay, so let's just read the feature list. Fully replaced combat logic. AI will run for cover while reloading and using first aid. New decision system framework. Bots will move outside their bot zones to investigate gunfire or chase enemies. There's like customization difficulty options. There's extract, so the bots will extract. Bots will react to reloading, healing, pulling out grenades, pulling pins on grenades. So you can bait the AI now, he notes. They note. New cover system. Bots will use objects around them in the real game world rather than preset static points. Do more cover stuff. Personality system. Bots are a sign of a personality influence their decisions and talk behavior. That's pretty cool, actually. there's some presets: Giga Chad, Rat, Coward, Timmy, Normal. That's pretty cool. Because I guess there's like a decision tree, and now you can like do. That's pretty cool. There's new squad system, blind fire. Bots will now blind fire over objects. Advanced search behavior. Use stems. Tons. I could keep going. There's tons of stuff here, which is just like, what, dude? That's crazy. They could do all this stuff. There's another one where they were able to do. Oh man, what was it called? I'm trying to look at it on my. I literally have a folder called mods downloads, and it's probably like 20 mods, maybe more, that I need to like set up. But this one had to do with again AI, and it had to do with lighting, and it was pretty smart how he set it up, where it's I'm trying to multitask here and find it. Dude, what was it called? No. No. Did I not download it? Oh wait, no, I remember. It was it's called That's Lit. Okay, That's Lit. Okay. Cuz it wasn't a actual release, it was he hasn't got it updated to the latest one. So he did a preliminary release that's not official, but if you want to do it, it's there. Anyways, so it was a little weird of a download. So this one, That's Lit. Essentially, okay, what he's trying to solve here is what he calls like unfair gameplay, which is like when those bots shoot you through like grasses and bushes and like in nighttime and stuff. So how he's done it is kind of complicated, and I suspect this is not at all remotely possible online because of the amount of processing that's being used here. Essentially, there's a scene coefficient within the game, and that often determines how bots see you. So he has implemented lighting into it, the calculations, and I believe what he's done. I'm trying to find the line here. Maybe there's a up here. Okay, So, okay, the goal of this is to get about the money sneak around nighttime, not always get noticed by distance. Yeah. Okay, so there's a meter on the top left. I want to find the part. Okay, anyways, I'll just bullshit. I think if I recall, he said something where like he has it where there's a camera actually spectating you.
Right.
Which uses information based off that to inform if the bots can see you or not. And a lot of it's like chance based as well. But also baked into it, there's a new HUD display on the top left where it's like a meter. Kind of like how Thief, like a very low end version. If any of you played Thief or seen Thief from back in the day, there's like a, how visible are you based off on the shadows. It's kind of similar where like left is like you're invisible and right's like you're visible. It's pretty like basic, but it's enough to get the job done right. And dude, I just can't wait to play with all these like AI enhancements, gameplay overhauls, just to see like how it plays and what it's like to experience it.
Yeah, it'd be good. Like once you've done it, then you should be able to, you should come back and like report on your findings, right? And like see if like are there any issues? Like does it feel good or not? Whatever. It's like it's useful, I think, for people to tinker with this stuff. It's the only kind of test bed that anybody has outside of BSG listening to feedback. It's like but sometimes, as we've said before, it's hard to provide feedback when we can't, test 5 different iterations of the inertia system and fiddle with the numbers ourselves and whatever. It's like it's difficult to know.
Yeah.
If what you're saying, you know how you want it to feel, but sometimes you just need to like go through a few iterations of trying things like that. I think that's one of the biggest criticisms about BSG's testing process is that there's not enough iterations of these things before they go. They say, "Oh, something's come to ETS, come test it," and then they go, "Oh, it's come to live," and then everyone hates it, and then they go, "We fixed it," and then that's it. That's it forever, right? And it's like there's no backseas, like there's no second chance. There just doesn't get cycles enough. We need to go through like lots of different tries before we come to something good. So that's why this is the only reason why I think SPT is very useful for the game, because it gives that test bed that we don't have anywhere else. So I'm intrigued to hear what your conclusions are after you've played.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, playing it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Just essentially waiting on the Traveler / Path to Tarkov to get updated, and I think it's smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, that one's kind of cool. It is cool because people want to implement those rules, but they're annoying to keep track of yourself. It's like nice for them to be. It's not a simple thing. You can do it, but it's not necessarily a simple thing for you to keep track of. So
yeah,
it's just much easier if you've got a module there that's like dealing with it, so you don't have to think about it. Like you want those limits to be enforced upon you, which is cool. So yeah, it'd be good. I mean, that's how everyone expects Tarkov to be eventually. So see how it feels,
Yeah. And like to in BSG's defense, I think they're kind of in a state where they're still in like pre-production, so they're still they're juggling so many things or wearing a lot of hats. It's like they're trying to test stuff, but also like trying to like develop stuff, and also trying to like come up with new stuff. How do we get the project done in a reasonable time? Like there's a lot of tech debt in Tarkov, which I think they're like finally reducing that. It seems to be the case. Like I think they've cut a bit of that, but it seems like Nikita's really pushing that a bit more, where he's trying to really cut down on features and cut back on stuff. Like they cut out the customizable rigs, which these things happen, and I'm really there's a big secret COPIUM in me that's like, okay, the game will get finished and then they'll fix everything, right? That's the big COPIUM, which could, it's not impossible.
I just feel that they're in the kind of like good enough mode now. They're like, oh, this system is good enough. This system is good enough. We're just like, we can release it like this. Like one thing that does like, just I know we probably should finish pretty soon, but the only last thing for me that does like make me concern me slightly is actually, I guess like some of these things. I guess it's supposed to be the winter update, isn't it? I was like going back to look at the roadmap because I haven't looked at this for a while actually. And yes, it's supposed to be the winter update, but I thought some of these things, or at least the recall rework we were supposed to see before, like in the middle of the wipe. Like we were supposed to see some of this on ETS, and we haven't seen anything as of yet about that. Like all this other stuff is coming in December. Like, you know, there's still time, but like arena's coming soon. So hopefully, it's just
man.
there's a lot of stuff coming.
Lot.
I wouldn't be surprised if things get pushed from the December.
I mean, it feels inevitable. It feels like something's gonna get pushed. There's just way too much going
armor
on.
Customization, vaulting, bipod mounting, the BTR, Lightkeeper actually being an in-raid trader, left shoulder shooting. Like the Streets of Tarkov 3rd expansion, Nikita unofficially already said was pushed. Another boss? Like, come on.
Unless Arena was like already 95% finished, you know what I mean? Then maybe I could like 95% finish back in, I don't know, midsummer. Then maybe I could see that happening, all that stuff, most of that stuff happening. But I feel like where we are now, dude, we'll be lucky to get like recall rework. I don't know, dude. I don't even know. Like, we're probably not gonna get bipods. I don't know about vaulting. It's kind of a question. It's all really up into the air, dude.
Yeah, I feel like we could get like armor and vaulting, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. The recall one. I feel like after the reception of that, I don't know, dude. They're like, all right, we'll deal with that later. Let's do the other stuff. But yeah, dude. Oh, man, I don't know, man. I feel like Arena's probably the only thing I feel like is a almost guarantee. You know what I mean? Everything else is kind of like, eh.
Yeah, we still haven't seen Unity 2021. We know that was in ETS, but we haven't seen that even. That was supposed to come, you know, whenever, but they had issues with that.
Where's my bottle of COPIUM?
Which they resolved, as per Nikita. They resolved those problems so they could get on working to it. Yeah, it's just a lot.
There's a lot. Yeah. Now, if we do get everything, hey, hats off, you know?
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, and the thing is, if they push some of this stuff, it's not like I'm going to be mad either. Some people maybe will be, but like, I won't be angry.
This is the thing for me. I really want to get back into Tarkov, but I need Tarkov to get back into me. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I need something in the game to really excite me, dude. Like I need a meta change. The only like major meta change we had was like 12-12, I think, because we had like I think we had Found and Raid previously, but then when 12-12 came out, there was inertia, there was new recoil, new map, Lighthouse with the rogues. That was kind of like a new element to it. Like there's a lot of changes.
All the ballistics changed, like, you know, damage drop off, pen drop off.
Oh yeah, the like, ballistic changes. Like, dude, it was a really fun, exciting time. Now that the dust is kind of settled on that, you know, I feel like the meta has been pretty stale for a while, and I really want a new recoil system. I really like. As much as the armor hit zones scare me, it will be a meta shift, and it's like fine. You know, I'll take it. I'll take what I can get, dude. If it like completely kills the game and the game's dead, hey, it was a good 2 weeks, baby. That was the best meta, dude. The 2 weeks that killed Tarkov. Everyone's running around with slug, shotgun shots, one tapping class 6 armors.
Yeah, it's SVT and HP, the new meta.
Ah, man, can you imagine?
Just a boom, giving the one tap to the chest.
Thorax, armpit.
Exactly. So the thorax armpit meta.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Yeah. So yeah, that's I'm for me, I really want to get back into it. So I really want, like, recoil would be amazing. Hit zones, I'll take it without the recoil, but you know, dude, I really want something in there.
I just want vaulting so badly. Like every time I play Lighthouse, I just really want vaulting. Like the other maps, I could take it or leave it. But on Lighthouse in particular, I hate the geometry of the game on Lighthouse. It's so obnoxious. There's so many places where you can't move properly. You can't like it's just like that just can't like it's so bad. I was trying to get over like a 2-foot high fence yesterday, and I just like if I was next to it and I was scav, so when I was next to it, I didn't have enough strength to jump over it. When I was on the rock, I couldn't get it to jump when I was running because I would run off the rock too soon because I didn't have enough space to like wind up. But if I walked, I wouldn't go far enough to get over it, and I was like, I'm actually losing my mind. I like tried like 5 times to get over this like tiny little fence. I was like, oh, I'm like this is so bad. Oh my god! Like on PMC, I'd just be able to like face sprint at it and press jump and just like clear it, you know. But it was oh my god, it was just it was driving me completely spare. So I just every time I play Lighthouse, I'm just praying for vaulting every time. Like I never really care about it the rest of the time, but sometimes I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. But on Lighthouse, it's just like absolutely necessary. It's just so many places, so it's just really awkward. So yeah, I'd love that. I think that would be really really good. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Just waiting for updates.
Tarkov is like you're playing this really stressful game, and then like you have like the most simplest petty thing, if you will, like you can't get your foot over the rock, and it's just like making you and then turn. Like I've had that, dude, where it's just like let me like you're just freaking out. It's like you're working at like a really intense stressful job, and it's like you're I don't know, one of your equipment just like won't work or broke or something. Your boss is yelling at you.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, you just want things to go smoothly in that situation.
I did have a funny moment in one of it was sort of similar, although it was actually more comedic than anything else, which is on streets. Like I shoot at this guy. I like kind of go like I relocate myself a bit. I'm like stood on the back of a truck cab, but like at the back bit where like the trailer would go, but the trailer's not connected. I like reload my RD, and I'm like, hold on, where's my mag gone? I look into my inventory. I've got like 2 items in 2 offsetting 2x1 slots.
No.
So the 50 rounder dropped. I look down and it's like between the 2 things of the truck like on the ground, and I'm like, no. And the guy's like VoIPing, like Chad jumping around. He like sprints into my courtyard because I think he didn't think I was in there. Like I got him down with the 30 rounder, and then I'm like, okay, gotta like try and get this back. And I spent like 5 minutes like trying to get into like go to the side, like go down to the side, like lying down, like trying to reach it. Like no, can't get it. It's like when you drop something down the back of the sofa. I was like, and eventually managed to get myself prone in between the 2 like arms of the truck bed, so I'm like a foot lower than I should be through the terrain, and then free look down and then grab the item and like yoink it out. And we're like, yes, got it. We got the 50 rounder back. It was funny, but yeah, with the fact we had to kill somebody in the middle, I was looking at it like, oh no, this guy's coming. Actually, we better deal with him first before we fish around for this 50 rounder. Yeah, it's entertaining, but oh my god, yeah, the game just provides those kind of moments. It's like the detail of the map is like it's such a double-edged sword, It's like it makes audio more confusing because they want to do it realistically and not like competitively. Like stuff, the AI stops working half the time because of like glitches with the map, because the map the mapping is so complicated. Like there's lots of things that can go wrong. Like stuff falls through gaps, and a lot of people fall through the floor because there's some issue somewhere else. Like, oh my word, it's just insane.
It's a complicated game, in all fairness.
It is. It's like to its own detriment sometimes. But it wouldn't be what it is without it.
True that.
Yeah.
True that. All right. Well, it's that time where we end the show. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.
Catch you later.